The haunting of Willow Creek. I never believed in ghosts. In fact, I scoffed at the idea whenever someone mentioned it. But that was before I moved into the small town of Willow Creek. I had just graduated from college and landed my dream job at a publishing company. The only downside was that the company was situated in a remote town. But the idea of living in a small, peaceful town was appealing to me. So, I packed my bags and moved to Willow Creek. I found a charming little house on the outskirts of town. It was a beautiful 2-story house with a wraparound porch and a backyard that overlooked the woods. It was perfect, but things started to feel off from the first day I moved in. I would hear strange noises at night, like someone was walking around the house. I chalked it up to my imagination, but as the days went by, the noises became more frequent and louder. I tried to ignore it, but it was hard to sleep at night with all the creaking and shuffling sounds. I decided to do some research on the history of the house. That's when I found out that the previous owners had mysteriously disappeared without a trace. My heart started racing as I read the stories about the house. Rumors of hauntings and strange occurrences had been passed down through generations. I laughed it off, thinking it was just a silly superstition. But then, things took a turn for the worse. I started seeing things, shadows moving in the corner of my eye, objects moving on their own, and a cold chill that seemed to follow me everywhere. I couldn't deny it any longer. My house was haunted. I tried to find a logical explanation for everything, but nothing made sense. I decided to seek help from a paranormal investigator. He confirmed my worst fears. There was a presence in my house, and it was not a friendly one. The investigator told me that the house was built on an ancient burial ground, and the spirits were not at peace. He tried to perform a cleansing ritual, but it only seemed to anger the spirits. Things escalated quickly after that. I would wake up with bruises and scratches, and sometimes I would find strange symbols drawn on the walls. I couldn't take it anymore. I knew I had to leave, but the spirits wouldn't let me. They seemed to be attached to me, and no matter where I went, they followed. I was trapped in my own personal hell. One night, as I lay awake in bed, I heard a voice whisper my name. I opened my eyes to see a figure standing at the end of my bed. It was a woman, her face twisted in a demonic expression. She reached out to me and I screamed. When I woke up, I was drenched in sweat and my heart was pounding. It was just a nightmare, I told myself. But then I saw the woman's face in the mirror, and I knew it wasn't a dream. I knew I had to confront the spirits once and for all. I did some research and found out that the spirits were the restless souls of a family who had been brutally murdered in that very house. With the help of a medium, I was able to communicate with the spirits. They were angry and wanted revenge for their deaths. I knew I had to help them find peace before it was too late. Together, we uncovered the truth behind their murders. It was the previous owners who had killed them in a fit of rage. With the spirits' guidance, I was able to bring their killers to justice. As soon as their murderers were brought to justice, the spirits were finally able to find peace. The haunting stopped, and I was able to move on from the nightmare that was Willow Creek. I learned a valuable lesson: to never underestimate the power of the supernatural. And now I believe in ghosts. I believe that they are among us, and we must never disturb their resting place. The Bloodied rose. I woke up to the sound of heavy rain hitting against my bedroom window. The storm outside was raging, lightning flashing through the dark sky and thunder rumbling in the distance. I tried to go back to sleep, but something felt off. I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that crept up my spine. As I lay in bed, I noticed a faint smell of roses. It was strange, considering I didn't have any flowers in my room. I brushed it off as my imagination and closed my eyes, hoping to drift off to sleep once again. But then, I heard a soft whisper. It sounded like a woman's voice, but I couldn't make out what it was saying. I sat up in bed, my heart racing with fear. I was alone in my apartment, or so I thought. I tried to convince myself that it was just the wind playing tricks on me, but then I saw it. On my bedside table, there was a single rose. Its petals were dark red, almost black, and they were covered in blood. I felt a chill run down my spine as I slowly reached out to touch the flower. My hand trembled as I felt the sticky, warm blood on my fingertips. I quickly got out of bed, my heart pounding in my chest. I searched my room, but there was no one there. I was alone, yet the rose was there, as if it had appeared out of thin air. I couldn't explain it, but I knew something was wrong. I decided to leave my apartment and go for a walk, hoping to clear my mind. As I walked through the streets, the rain seemed to get heavier, and the wind howled like a warning. I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being watched. I turned a corner and saw a figure standing in the distance. It was a woman, dressed in a long white dress. She was holding a bouquet of roses, and as she approached, I noticed that her dress was covered in blood. My heart skipped a beat as I realized that she was the source of the bloodied rose in my room. She stopped in front of me and handed me a rose from her bouquet. I was frozen in fear, unable to move or speak. The woman leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "Take this rose as a warning. The blood that stains it is a reminder of the innocent souls lost to my curse." With that, she disappeared into the darkness. I stood there, shaking with fear and confusion. I didn't understand what was happening, but I knew that I needed to get rid of the rose. I quickly made my way back to my apartment and threw the rose out the window. But that was just the beginning of my nightmare. Every night, I would wake up to the smell of roses and find another bloodied rose on my bedside table. The woman would appear, whispering her warning, and disappear just as quickly. I tried to ignore it, to convince myself that it was just a strange coincidence. But the roses kept appearing, and I couldn't escape the feeling of being watched. I started to lose sleep, afraid of what might happen next. One night, I woke up to find the woman standing at the foot of my bed, her eyes filled with rage. "You didn't listen to my warning," she said, her voice echoing through the room. "Now you will suffer the same fate as the others." I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The woman reached out and touched my forehead, and suddenly, I was transported to a different place. It was a dark, desolate forest, and I could hear the screams of other victims echoing in the distance. The woman appeared in front of me, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "You have been cursed," she said, her voice now a chilling whisper. "You will roam this forest for eternity, just like the others who have ignored my warning." With that, she disappeared, leaving me alone in the cursed forest. I tried to escape, but I was trapped, doomed to suffer the same fate as the others. And every night, I would wake up to the smell of roses and find another bloodied rose on my bedside table, a reminder of the curse that I could never escape. Voices from the basement. I've always been a curious person. Some might say too curious for my own good. So when I moved into my new house and discovered a locked door leading to the basement, I couldn't resist the urge to find out what was down there. My friends and family warned me not to go down there, saying it was dangerous and that strange things had been heard coming from the basement at night. But I shrugged off their warnings and convinced myself that it was all just silly superstitions. One night, as I lay in bed trying to fall asleep, I heard a faint whispering coming from the basement. At first, I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but the whispers grew louder and more distinct. I couldn't resist the temptation any longer. I grabbed a flashlight and made my way down to the basement, my heart pounding with excitement and fear. As I reached the bottom of the stairs, I shone my flashlight around the dark, musty room. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, just some old boxes and furniture covered in dust. But then I heard it again, the voices coming from the corner of the room. I cautiously made my way towards the source of the sound, my heart beating faster with each step. As I got closer, the voices became clearer and I could make out what they were saying. It was a group of children, whispering and giggling to each other. I couldn't see them, but their presence was undeniable. I called out to them, asking who they were and why they were in my basement, but they just continued to whisper and giggle, ignoring my questions. Suddenly, the whispers turned into loud, malicious laughter, and I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I quickly turned to leave, but the door at the top of the stairs wouldn't budge. It was as if someone or something was holding it shut. Panic set in as I frantically tried to open the door. The laughter grew louder and the voices became more sinister. I could feel a presence in the room with me, watching and taunting me. Just when I thought I was trapped forever, the door finally gave way and I stumbled up the stairs, slamming the door shut behind me. I never went back down to the basement again. From that night on, I could hear the voices and laughter coming from the basement every night. It was a constant reminder of the terrifying experience I had down there. I tried to convince myself that it was all just my imagination, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something evil lurking in the basement. I eventually moved out of the house, unable to handle the constant fear and unease that came with living there. But even in my new home, I could still hear the voices from the basement, haunting me and reminding me of the horrors I had encountered.